telling you, as I said, we have one of the superstars of the crypto world. His name, I'm going to give him a little. I'm going to give him a little props here. So he's not going to do this himself. He's a humble man. He won't talk big about himself, but I'll go ahead and do it. His name is Stan Larimar. He is the godfather of Bitshares. And if you haven't heard of Bitshares, boy, I haven't been teaching this webinar well enough. Stan has 40 years experience in software, hardware, systems engineering, program management, business development. And you know something? This guy's a real live rocket scientist. Yes, Stan taught rocket science at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And just so you all know, the U.S. Air Force throws up more rockets than anybody else combined. So, he did the teaching right. He's contributed on 17 different major R&D programs for air, ground, sea, and space systems. He served with Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and SAIC as a consultant, a tech lead, program manager, and corporate officer. Now, listen, he is also building some of the hottest tech in the cryptocurrency world. And without further ado, Stan, I want to thank you so much for being here on our webinar. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, Stan and I met at the Freedom Fest, and boy, was that fun, Stan. I mean, what'd you think about the Freedom Fest?
Oh, that was atomic, and it was so cool just wandering around, bumping into people, and then some amazing speeches. Judge Napolitano was there, and he brought down the house, and just the whole thing had a great atmosphere.
And I found it's so funny how things work out. I actually brought in a big celebrity who, when he saw you, he was like you were the celebrity. Kevin Harrington, one of the Shark Tank guys, when you guys saw each other, it was like it was bosom buddies. How do you know Kevin?
Well, I met him back in 2014 down at a mastermind session in St. Martin in the Caribbean. And we got together. Michael Taggart set that up with a couple of his other colleagues to bring some people down to talk about cool new stuff. So, I got literally a chance to spend 3 hours in the quote unquote Shark Tank with Kevin down there. So got to know him pretty well. Dan Larimar, my son, who's done all this technology we're talking about, even flew down there for a day to actually meet him. So, I didn't expect him to remember me, but yeah, you're like you say, he spotted me and he immediately, knew where he'd seen me before and mentioned the fact about my son and everything. So, he's a sharp guy. He really never forgets.
And I tell you what, isn't that true? I mean, the one thing he really actually, outside of everything he remembered, he sure remembered the fact that you had told him to buy some Bitcoin way back then, and he is still kicking himself for not buying. Remember that?
Oh, absolutely. So, naturally we took advantage of that and said, well, we can give you another tip like that. You want to miss out again? And of course he didn't.
No, that's for sure. He was all ears. I couldn't get him away for everything else. Well, listen, Stan, there are really three subjects I want to talk about today, and I kind of want to, if you can tell our listeners who have heard about BitShares, like I said, if you've got any time, if anybody has got any time in the cryptocurrency, they've heard of BitShares. Could you kind of give people a little background, or at least, a little bit about what you've done with BitShares and what you and your son have done?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course, Bitcoin came on the scenes in 2009, and by 2010, Dan Larimar had discovered it and was talking to Satoshi Nakamoto in various forums at the time. What happened in the years following that, the next few years, was the Paleozoic era, if you will, of cryptocurrency, where a lot of people were just copying Bitcoin and putting a new name on it. The altcoin explosion is what happened during that time. But along about the time that Dan came on the scene in 2013, there was a new revolution going on. And I guess at the time we called it Bitcoin 2.0, but the idea was do something different than just make another coin. And so Dan had the idea of, well, I could put an entire company on the blockchain. I'm just going to put a coin. Well, I can put an exchange, a smart coin factory, a bunch of stuff. And so he conceived of the idea of Bitshares as being a unmanned company, and then went back and said to Bitcoin, oh, by the way, Bitcoin, you didn't know it, but you were the world's first unmanned company. You had one thing to do, which was you provide the service of transferring ownership of Bitcoins. That's what you do. But you are an unmanned company. You were the first. We salute you. Now, look at this. And he showed off a lot more complexity. That's what led to Bitshares. And once he got Bitshares up and running, he went on and did Steemit, which was a social media platform. It gives out free cryptocurrency to people who publish good articles and get lots of upvotes. So that was his second project. And now he's off doing EOS, which is an operating system that allows you to build blockchain systems and smart contract stuff on top of it. And they just had a huge raise during the past year. I don't know exactly, but something like $4 billion worth of funding. And EOS is already like almost the third biggest coin after Bitcoin and Ethereum. It maybe got 5% or something of the market cap, but still pretty significant. But while all that was happening, quietly and without people really seeing it, this following thing snuck up. If you want to insist on ranking coins by market cap, and you go to coinmarketcap.com, you can see Bitcoin listed there, and then you can see the other ones that have a large market cap. But to me, that's the past. You got to a market cap because of how well you've done in the past. It's the integral of your success so far. But a better indication of how things are going for the future might be going to another place called blocktivity.info, which ranks them by activity. And it turns out that the three things Dan has built currently do 90% of all the world's blockchain transactions. Okay.
What was that site? What was that site again, Stan? You broke
yeah,
a little bit.
It's like activity, only it's spelled blocktivity.
Okay.
.info, and it's got a little chart there that shows the percentage of the total industrial usage, if you will. And you'll note that right now his third chain EOS and his first chain Bitshares are slugging it out for who's in first or second place. And then Steemit comes along in third place. And then I think it's probably going to be Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then the rest of the community, all the other coins.
It's funny because just about 3 months ago, I was telling people great sources of information about blockchain and Bitcoin, and one of the top three was Steemit. I mean, Steemit is fantastic. Folks, if you ever want to learn fast, once again, go to Steemit, Google it, you'll find it, because I mean, the minute you start doing a Google search, it's going to pop up. On Bitshares, you have many. What's interesting is you have many different types of value. Just call them valuables myself. But what are the different valuables, and how does that work on Bitshares exchange? If you can try to dice that down to a simple language for us.
Sure. First off, it's a smart coin factory, so instead of just having one coin per blockchain, it makes coins, and you can sit down in 15 minutes and launch your own coin and have it running and trading against all the other coins on that network. So it's a pretty powerful way, instead of cloning Bitcoin and having it running, all that slow processing and stuff. You get transactions happening in sub-seconds instead of hours. So your coin can be running just as fast as Bitshares or EOS by launching it on the Bitshares network. And so now it's just a question of what kind of coins can you launch. There's several. First off, you can get the type of coin like Bitshares itself, BTS, which is like Bitcoin. It's a fixed supply that fluctuates with demand. And so as more and more people want to hold BTS, the demand grows and the supply is fixed, so the value grows on the market. And that's the reason why most of the altcoins out there are work that way. But they're very volatile because supply and demand or demand is fluctuating. But you can also create your own token that you give meaning to. You say, this token is good for 1 hour of my free consulting time, right? And I'm going to sell this coin, and it guarantees that no matter how rich and famous I get, you can still buy an hour of my time for this price. So that would be an example. Frequent flyer miles, game tokens for doing different things. So those are user-defined assets. User-issued assets is what those are called. But some of them get to be really interesting. Like we put one on there from Quintric.com. That's Quintric, and that is a gold depository out in Utah. And basically, they are offering a token that is backed by real U.S. mint gold and silver stored in their vault that you can take delivery of anytime you want. So
that's amazing. So that's actual gold connected to a crypto or a digital currency. What do you want to
That's
call
right. So you can send gold to anybody in the world in a second or two. And we're going to shortly be introducing that same token so it runs on the EOS network as well, and then it'll be sub-seconds. So now you got a nice stable coin. I mean, its value is precisely defined by the U.S. Mint. Whenever they publish the price for going out and buying one of their nice, beautiful gold or silver coins, whatever price they publish is the price that it's locked to. And you can send that to somebody else and trade it around all you want. But unlike the other things, any coin out there could go to zero, but these can't go to zero because you can always collect the gold or silver coin that's on deposit, and it's 100% backed. So, for every Quint or Quint S for the silver that's out there, there's a coin ready to send to you if you ever want to cash it out. And so that gives you an incredible new way to do business, not to mention a nice way to get into the cryptocurrency. You don't have to go and use some of the more expensive good old standards like Coinbase or so on that allow you to send fiat government money in. You can do that right at Quintric and get quints and then trade them for other things on the Bitshares network or wherever else it gets traded. Now, we just launched that on the 4th of July, so it's starting to ramp up in circulation, but I think that'll be.
Could you spell that again? Stan, is that Quintric? Did I spell that right?
Yep. Good. .com. And so that is a real good way for a person who's a little bit nervous about, what are all these coins about? Well, here's a nice stable one backed by U.S. legal tender. And, that is really nice because other coins that fluctuate are going to give you capital gains and losses, but legal tender is a separate category that you can spend and send around and never have to worry about keeping track of how its price is fluctuating. And so that is another major benefit of that. But
that's excellent.
That is just another category. That is just a spectacular form of a user-issued asset. But there's other user-issued assets out there that could be, Joe's Barbecue or something. So the whole spectrum, you can introduce your own for some high school project, or you could go and get something that's U.S. legal tender. Pretty cool spectrum of what you could do there. But then the third category is smart coins, and that would be examples would be BitUSD, BitCNY. Basically, those coins track the value of the dollar or the yuan or the euro, even Bitcoin. And those are something that is backed by Bitshares itself as collateral. So basically, they're guaranteed that you can cash them in for their value in Bitshares. And the reason you'd want to do that is because there's no counterparty. Now, as good as Quintric is, you still have to trust the fact that they've got gold in their vault, insured by Lloyd's of London and under continuous video surveillance that you can look at and see the gold is there. So they do everything they can to prove that they're trustworthy and so on. But if you are the type of person that wants no humans in the loop, then those smart coins are a good solution. And the Hero is a particularly interesting one because its definition is the value of the US dollar in 1913 plus 5% annually. And so right now it's up around $170 in value. That's how much it's grown at 5% since then. And against today's dollar, which has shrunk as the Federal Reserve has printed money and everything. So we like to call the Hero honest money, and the US dollar is pretty much dishonest money because
it's like fake news, Stan.
yeah. And the reason they're both worth the same. The day, December 23rd, 1913, a date that will live in infamy, when the Federal Reserve started managing our money and printing too much of it and destroying its value. And so
now let me make sure. I just want to understand one thing. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I have some people like texting me now saying, did Stan say this right? That on this site that's called Block Activity, the three combined platforms that you and your son have, Steemit, Bitshares, and EOS, are at 90% of all cryptocurrency activity. Did I hear that right? I just want to make sure I text.
Yes, all blockchain activity. Now, there are exchanges out there where you can trade stuff, but those are trading IOUs. They're not trading on the blockchains themselves. And of course, there's tons of transactions on those centralized exchange. But if you're talking about blockchains and what happens on them, and then that's pretty good. But you can go there right now and look, and you'll see a pie chart if you scroll down past the table.
Oh, that's big. That's big time.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
And you can see we've squeezed Bitcoin down to 1.5% of all activity. Ethereum has got less than 5%. And of course, EOS just as recently jumped to 50%, squeezing Bitshares down to 30% and Steemit down to 9%, because it's growing and growing. But those three together, when you add 50% and 30% and 9.2%, guess what?
So there you sit. So let me ask you this. So we have these three pieces, and Bitshares, I assume, is primarily working on the blockchain. Now, I know you and Sean Worthington. Just to give you an idea, Stan, we have probably 8,000 or 9,000 people that are going to hear this briefing. That many of them have Cloudcoin, and they're very excited about what's going down with Cloudcoin, and this could be a tremendous introduction point for them getting involved with Bitshares and Quinn because they're going to come piling in with some Cloudcoin and even just go straight there. Can you talk about what you've been doing to have the Cloudcoin tradable in the very near future on Bitshares?
Yeah, they're our new strategic partner. We realized that Bitshares and Cloudcoin go together like ham and eggs, like macaroni and cheese. It's they're very complementary. Of course, Cloudcoin is a completely different technology from blockchain technology. It's a special type of data file that can be embedded in other data files and verified as to being authentic versus counterfeit. And so you can email a Cloudcoin to somebody, embedded in a file or printed out on a sheet of paper or any kind of different ways, and you don't have to publish that transaction out on a blockchain. So you have privacy, and you could encrypt it and send it on Proton Mail. So in terms of private transactions, we like to compare that to Quintric and the Quinn gold-backed coin. The difference between the two is what's backing a token on the Bitshares network. In the case of the token that is on Bitshares representing gold in a vault, it's a token, but it's backed by gold. But the parallel to that is a token backed by a cloud coin. And that means that you can send a Cloudcoin to somebody as a IOU on Bitshares network, just like you send an IOU for one gold coin, you send an IOU for one Cloudcoin, and then people can send that around. And the nice thing about having it on the network that way is that they can trade against all the other cryptocurrencies.
And there's so many.
Yeah.
With BitShares, how many? We're talking dozens of different cryptos that are actively trading on the BitShares platform, right?
Many hundreds. I've lost track. It could be thousands by now.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
I'm real behind, Stan.
yeah. Now, some of them are Joe's Barbecue and Pizza shop or something, but there is still lots of good coins. And when you get out the wallet, you see the most popular coins are published on the front page, and then tons of other ones behind the scenes. But we're talking about Cloudcoin and Quint as two premier coins, and both of them have the added benefit of private transactions, because
that's huge.
If I want to if I want to send to the Cloudcoin people a BitShares Cloud IOU, and I could tell them, hey, transfer this to somebody else who's got a Cloudcoin account, then Cloudcoin can take care of that behind the scenes off blockchain. And the same thing works with Quintric. If I send a Quint to Quintric, 1,000 of them equals one coin, then I can ask them to transfer it to another account, and then that's all done under Utah law as a escrow transfer from one account to another. And guess what? Your competitor can't keep track of who you paid what, because you're doing it off ledger. So you've got the choice. You can publish a transaction on the BitShares network that people can see and verify, or you can go through Cloudcoin or Quintric to do it privately to somebody.
That's huge. And just a quick technical question, because Cloudcoin isn't a blockchain, it isn't operating on blockchain. I think the thing that you guys are kind of working through the last little bit is, do you take like the Cloudcoin and I'm going to use a really simple phraseology. Do you kind of wrap it in blockchain? How does that work? That's the piece I didn't quite get.
Yeah. Okay, the easiest way to think of it is a receipt for one Cloudcoin or one Quint, whichever. There's on the blockchain, you're passing around this receipt that whoever holds it can cash out a Cloudcoin or a gold coin doing that. So while it's on the BitShares network, you're passing it around on the blockchain as a token, which is good for one Cloudcoin or one gold coin.
Interesting. Okay, so that's and obviously we're going to hear more about that later when the launch happens. And I think Sean was telling me, I think the last thing is working on some type of wallet. Is that that's kind of my understanding?
Yeah, we were helping him with that, and we had one of our wallet developers working on it, but they kind of got behind. Today we just had another meeting where we got him some more technical support from, one of the best guys in the business in terms of technical expertise. And so, he's going to be now working to help get this thing done, because, we were hoping to have it done back on the 4th of July, but it's just engineering backlogs. It's the fact of life. And, and so,
I get you.
When they do that, what a manager does is get some help, and we just brought in another team to help get that done today.
That's fantastic. As I said, we're real excited, Stan. We're growing at 100 to 200 people every week now who are getting into Cloudcoins, and we're talking about BitShares like every day practically. And I'm very happy that you also took the time to talk about Quintric, because your booth was at the Freedom Fest. It was like a beehive. I mean, they had people. I mean, frankly, it was unbelievable, and it was a nice booth too.
Well, it kept us busy running back and forth between the Quint booth and the Cloudcoin booth, and the whole time we were doing it, we're passing Kevin Harrington's booth. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's just a continuous rinse and repeat all day long. But yeah,
Absolutely.
what we did is right in front of everybody's eyes, sitting around inventing new things that we could do together. And so we got a joint venture between my company and Sean's company at Cloudcoin to do some cool stuff that we'll be announcing before too long. And all of these things that we are doing, I've got at least four, some of that we haven't even announced yet, four different approaches out there to extend Bitshares in different directions uh, that give better regulatory support or better privacy support or things that are chipping away at the last remaining limitations before this goes taking off in all
Let me
directions.
let me ask you one last question, and I kind of like asking this of every guest I bring in. Here's the crystal ball in front of you, Stan. What do you see happening in the next 12 to 24 months? I mean, if you could pick one thing to say, Bob, I think this is going to happen, and this is how things are going to be affected by it. What's your take on that? I know that's a pretty broad question, but there you
Yeah, I only get to pick one. Okay. Boy, that's tough. Narrow it down. Which one am I going
That's
to
a
say?
tough question, and that's. Well, I should have said that. I should have gave that question to you before the pre-interview. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. Absolute chaos is on our way because we have a mixture of huge tidal wave of innovation coming in, and nobody's secure from being supplanted with something better. This is a rapidly evolving industry, and then we have governments of the world constantly perturbing it by changing the rules on us or doing sudden knee-jerk maneuvers that might cause panics of one form or another. And so it's the best of times and the worst of times. What this means as a practical matter is opportunity, right? Because at the times of greatest chaos and warp and woof of the entire fabric of our industry, people who are paying attention can do very well. And so I see lots of opportunity there. So that's one answer. I'm going to force another one down your throat here because I want to talk about that too. I think the biggest thing the ordinary person is going to see is, first off, all the ordinary people in the world have never even heard of Bitcoin. So you, by having even heard of Bitcoin, are no longer ordinary. But what most people are going to find is the first cryptocurrency they ever use is going to be because some company they're doing business with already has decided to switch over to crypto. And so you're going to encounter cryptocurrencies through those companies' products and services. And let's just take an example. Amazon will probably have a coin of its own. Walmart will probably have a coin of its own. There'll be a lot of companies that introduce that as part of their products and services, and you'll find you're using digital currencies long before anybody even admits it. And then from that, we'll see just this sudden switchover as big companies bring in millions of new users. And that's where I focus most of my time, is going around talking to big companies and telling them, this is what you need to know in order to enter this industry. And so I think in the coming year, that's going to fundamentally change the
U.S.
industry.
investors. Oh, Stan, you cut off there right as you're starting to answer the second question. You're going to give your part two. So can you restart? Because you literally cut off. So it was right after you finished talking about the first thing, and you said you were going to give me one more part of another answer. So go right to it.
Okay, no problem. The other thing that you're going to find is that most of the world doesn't know about cryptocurrency. So the people here that have heard the name Bitcoin, you're no longer an ordinary person yourself. But the ordinary people in the world who have never encountered the concept of cryptocurrencies are going to encounter it because companies are going to start moving in and using that currency. So most people will encounter cryptocurrency for the first time through some company they're already a customer of. And that's going to be the fundamental change as those companies bring millions of new users and teach them about currencies you may not have even heard of yet.
Well, I cannot agree with you more, Stan, because every couple weeks I show people, I talk about two things. I talk about where we are on the adoption curve, and we're still not even at early adopter. We're still inside the first 1% of users. We're still inside that. And right now, the total number of wallets out there universally as of the finish of Q1 2018 is 23 million wallets. So we are so early. Is this exciting or what, Stan?
Oh, it's great. But it's very much like when the Model T was first introduced. Most people had to be car mechanics in order to work on them, right? To get them to start, you had to fiddle with them for 5 minutes. Nowadays, cars stop and start again when they're sitting at a red light. So, that's where we are on the curve. We're at the just Model T is starting to get used by people who can figure out how to start them. That's where we are right now.
It's amazing. Stan, before we go, and folks, I actually only clocked. I was convinced Stan to come on for 10 minutes. Now I kept him probably double. Stan, is there any one place that our listeners should go to learn more about anything you're doing? Because you're doing so many things, I don't want them to miss out. Is there one place they should go to right now, or we're at thousands of people listening to this recording?
Yeah, I would say that a good place to start out is at my blog at steemit.com. That's with two E's, steemit.com/@Stan. And that'll bring you to, 2 years worth of articles I've written about this industry and everything I'm interested in. And that's where I'll be announcing some of our cool new stuff in the next 4 to 8 weeks. And so, yeah, going there first, and from there you'll learn about everything else, and you can track it down.
That's fantastic, folks. And once again, Stan, I very much thank you for taking the time to visit with us. It's been a pleasure, and I'm gonna lean on you one more time. Are you gonna be able to make yourself available in the next few weeks for some of your announcements?
Yeah, anytime that you're willing to have me, I'm willing to certainly talk to you, and go from there. Another place you can see a lot of that stuff is I do a weekly discussion on Blue Rock Talk with Connie Williams or Willis. Oh, she'll kill me, Connie Willis. But at any rate, that's a place where you can see various video interviews where we talk about whatever's hot.
That's great.
But I would be happy to come back here and tell you about stuff. We'll be going to conferences in Amsterdam and Sao Paulo, Brazil, in about 7 weeks. And we're planning on making some big announcements at that time. So that'd be a good time to check back with you.
That's fantastic. Thanks a lot. And folks, don't worry. I'm gonna send out this recording again. I'm gonna have both links that Stan said you're not going to miss out. So Stan, thank you very much for coming and attending with us tonight. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.